Okay, great. He's starting up. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Bounce Forward Talks presented by CI Young Indians with support from Roundtable India and in association with Faber Infinite Consulting. My name is Vishal, and today we have guest Mr. Makrand Appalwar, Chairman and Managing Director of Emmbi Industries. Thank you for accepting our invitation, sir, and welcome to Bounce Forward Talks.
Thanks, Vishal. I really appreciate having me here, and I thank CII, Young Indians, and everybody who's present on the call for part of this discussion. And let's try and make it as interactive as we can, so that us learn a little bit more and move forward into this difficult time. Thanks for having me here.
Definitely, sir. So, audience has already joined us, and many are still joining. Let me tell you, sir, we have received a very good feedback about this today's interview, and people are really excited to know your views about the current situation. So, audience, I take this opportunity to quickly introduce Mr. Makrand Appalwar. Mr. Makrand Appalwar is the chairman and managing director of Emmbi Industries. The first generation entrepreneur. He founded Emmbi Industries, and today Emmbi Industries is India's most valued woven polymer processing company. He transformed Emmbi from a trading organization to a large manufacturing organization. Emmbi Industries today has a span in 56 countries, and it's one of the dominant players in the area of bulk packaging, water conservation, agropolymer, and human safety related equipment. He has 2 decades of experience in the area of polymer industry and received various prestigious awards, including Udyog Ratna from Institute of Economics and Studies. He is a strong believer of innovation. He has set up an innovation lab which has received appreciation from Ministry of Science and Technologies and has a 15 plus patents on its name. He is an engineer and as an alumni of MIT Boston. So thank you very much, sir. Once again, I thank you for accepting our invitation, and we start this conversation. I would like, of course, I talked about Emmbi in very crisp, but we would like to hear from you regarding Emmbi and its ventures.
Thanks, Vishalji. And let me tell you about Emmbi. Basically, in order to appreciate you all about my view for the situation, you must know about the DNA of our organization. We are basically technical textile based polymer processing company, and we are present in various sectors such as bulk packaging, human safety, water conservation, and various other technical related products. So my basically intention to tell you all this is we are a multi-step process manufacturing organization. So all the things which we will be presenting or speaking would remain with the background in mind that kind of experience and a kind of a company we are. So this might be directly useful to you, or maybe directly connected to you, or may not be directly connected to a type of organization. So I would like to give you a small background that we are a multi-step manufacturing organization, and background I would like now Vishal to put forward what are his views or questions to if anything specific.
Definitely, sir. Thanks for that introduction, sir. As I think about decades of experience of this polymer industry, so we would like to know more about this industry as such, and also what are the variables associated with this industry, like with different times, what are these variables which affects the industry in top line as well as in terms of the bottom line, and what is the impact of these variables in today's scenario?
As I told you that we are present in the bulk packaging, water conservation or human safety. So probably one of the positions what we take today is because of the COVID-19 catastrophe which has happened worldwide. Our bulk packaging business would have certain kind of challenges because the movement of goods itself is severely restricted for time being. Our water conservation business, I don't think we would have a larger challenge because it's an ongoing need and it would not be really impacted by this. And human safety business is likely to also not being challenged because rather we would have got more opportunities. I'm glad to inform you that with company has a excellent ability to metamorphose and within 7 days of the need which was announced by our local government, we could immediately create overhauls or the suits which were being used by the medical and the sanitation employees of the Dadra and Nagar Haveli. So Emmbi was never in the business of making those protective garments and suits. But within a week's time, we could change our manufacturing processes, and we already created more than 300 protective suits and give it to our local people. So that kind of ability to quickly move from one product to another would probably fetches some benefits, and we would be able to take the challenge which we are going to face in the coming time because of the COVID-19 catastrophe, I would say. So variables are there is going to be a change in the total sales portfolio. Then it's not going to be just the same as what it was yesterday. So we will have to be prepared for that. And from the supply side also, we see a lot of disturbances and disruptions might happen. The pricing might go to toss, the banking and the inventory management might go to much different levels. So I think this is a testing time for all our managerial abilities, which probably we have learned in past 2 decades of operation and working. I think all of us who are doing and running their businesses or running their operations, we learned a lot of things during the past time of our experience. So this is the time, boys. This is the time to buckle up and show our experience, move on, and I'm sure we would get out of this also.
Great. No, this sir. So I really, it's
Vishal
really
sir, excuse me, Vishal sir.
yes, real.
Sorry, excuse me, but Makrand sir, we cannot see you. Hello.
I guess your platform is shutting the camera. You want me to re-log in?
No, no, you're visible now. It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Priya. So sorry for that interruption. So, sir, you talked, first of all, it's great to know that you are supplying these PPEs to the local guys. So it's a great service to the nation, which you and your team is doing. So my compliments to you and your team, sir. We are really honored to know this and really honored that such a guy, we are talking to such a person who is in current scenario is doing service to the nation. Thanks for that, sir. So
Thanks.
another thing, sir, you talked about these variables and the way they are playing a role today. So what is your strategy to cope up with all these variables to mitigate this risk of these variables?
See, when we speak about the lowering the business or recessions or slowdowns, we have to appreciate the fact that the things doesn't go in recession until they are minus previous year. Like let's say we have a business of 100 units in the year 1920. So next year we would have a business of say 95 units because there was 1 unit less demand or whatever. So how you can get out of this? And what was the biggest strength Emmbi always had was our ability to swing our production. We have a tremendous, would say, agility when it comes to our product design and product placements. So we are present in 56 countries, as you told. We have a diversity or a geographic spread possibility. Our business is almost half and half when it comes to exports and domestic sales. So we have a possibility of increasing the exports or reducing increasing domestic sales or reducing the domestic sales. So I would say that all the companies should have this flexibility now. We'll have to completely redefine our core competence. We should not stick to our core competence as the previous products what we used to produce pre-COVID. We'll have to go on the basic thought that again I would apologize for restricting my examples to our sector because I feel that more friendly. But let's say I would not like to now restrict myself as a company which was in a bulk packaging, or we were only on the human safety when it comes to fall and restricting the fire. But now we have learned that okay, we can also make the overalls. So now there is a reason that we can think about make them commercially, because this would be probably an opportunity which will be available for us globally. So all the companies or all the managers look at their own offerings such a way that previously maybe it was not necessarily being used for a particular purpose. Like most of us or many of us are engineers here. So you would remember that when we used to make our drawing sheets in our engineering days, instead of using the eraser, that rubber eraser, we used to use the pieces of bread as for erasing the pencil marks. And it should be very so now probably a bakery guy would have to start marketing bread also as an eraser. It's something like that. It's extremely skewed but extremely possible. So the basic thought I would give is think about your core competencies not from the product end but from the production end. Whatever you can produce, it can be applied to multiple places. Go ahead, start looking at that. Maintain your units, don't let it fall down. Whatever tonnage or number of units or number of I would say cycles you used to produce or you used to capture or you used to I would say crank, ensure that those many cycles or units or tonnages are maintained. The rest all will fall in place. Just you have to ensure that your units doesn't go down drastically. Of course, all of us are going to have some reduction in units because simply the time of operation is going to go down. But given in the time of operation, we have to ensure that our units per measure is completely maintained.
Very true, sir. So in fact, what you are saying, in fact, you giving me the next question is like we are seeing in this COVID scenario that organizations are changing. When I say they are changing. Mahindras who were manufacturing the vehicles today, they are manufacturing the ventilators. Indian Railways, which was transporting people from one place to other place, today some part of that railways is getting converted into an hospital. And the same example which you also gave for your own organization. Like you suddenly in a span of 1 week, you started making the PPs, which you were not doing in the past. So this scenario is calling for lots of flexibility in the organization that one has to change very quickly. We were talking about it in the past, but those were the talks. But this scenario has actually pushed us to be so flexible that you need to reorient your operations, you need to reorient your strategy in a very short span of time. So what's your take, sir? So how those organizations which are being traditionally run by traditional processes, traditional systems, how they should cope up with this flexibility? What kind of a mindset change, what kind of a process or strategy change they should be doing in order to be flexible to make up the current scenarios?
There's a very interesting thought. What is a typically we would call it an MIT thought. So in today's time, first we need to unlearn. It's all our thought processes or opinions or beliefs are because of our previous experiences and the learnings which we had. So we will have to first unlearn and then relearn. So one has to understand that whether whatever I learned in past 20 years might not be really now going to be the same way in the coming time. So there is a process of unlearning which is important and which is required to be done. So let us accept that we are going to unlearn something and then relearn again. So that's I think which we have. Second very important part we are at least intended our organization is giving opportunities to a youth or a younger blood to decide. Because all of us who are part of I would say a senior management or a middle management team, always be having certain baggage when it comes to our decision making, or certain baggage with our experiences. That okay, I have seen, like, for personally, I have seen this is my, I think, fourth or fifth recession I'm seeing. We started our business in '94. That was a recessionary trend. 2003, 2008, and last 2 years. So this is the fifth time probably I will be handling. But every previous time, there was a different way you did it. So this is not going to be कि यार मेरा तो 30 years का experience है, मुझे पता है सब कुछ क्या होने वाला है. No, this is going to work this way. This is definitely a different format of recession, because here the very first time recession is bidirectional. It is going to be lack of demand as well as lack of supply. It's a very strange thing which has happened for this particular time. So bidirectional recession generally never happened. The last bidirectional recession we talk about was the Great American Depression. After that, it was always a unidirectional recession. So we are kind of moving to that side. So I think that freshness of thought, this 15, 21 days, whosoever got those many, we must enjoy and use that for building our, I would say, strategy. That okay, now I have been told to redesign my business. What I have is this set of machines, this set of people with this set of competencies. Now where I can apply them. Forget about I used to do this, but now what I'm going to do, it can be changed.
Priyal, can you hear me? Hello, Priyal.
Hello.
Yeah, Priyal, can you hear me?
Yes, I guess Makarand has lost the signal.
I am able to hear Mr. Deshpande.
Okay, sir. Great, sir. Thanks, sir. One of the key things which you have just spoken, and I think something very new to all of us. All were talking till yesterday. All were talking about learning new things. But one of the important things which you are talking today is first of all unlearn few things. So I guess that's for the audience, and I can see there are so many top management members who are present in this call. One very important mantra which definitely will take away today is unlearn few things before you learn new things. Definitely, sir. So as per you, sir, what is the most important thing that we should be knowing and doing in this scenario?
I guess two very important things for a, I would say, continuously expanding 3 month scenario. Let's say you are standing today on 10th, 7th of April. So then first 3 months of your time, you should keep very tight eye or a close eye on your cash flows. Ensure that your cash flows always will remain positive, because there is going to be a substantial fund crunch or a liquidity tightness in the market. So your cash flow is one thing which one completely should not ignore. And on the 6 monthly basis, one should look for profitability, because profitability might not happen. PNL might not come into black immediately. But on the 6 monthly scenario, you have to mention that you maintain black into the profitability, and cash is going to be the king, because this is banks are going to be extremely, or any financial institutes are going to be paranoid to lend you. Your suppliers will ask for quick payments. Your I would say buyers would ask for extended credit. So this is going to be a kind of a tightrope walk for many of us. So I would say that extend only those many things, or give only those many possibilities where you always remain on the positive side of the cash flow line. Like you never should go on the negative. I think that would be a key to success. The companies which would be able to manage their cash flows, and managing that cash flow, maintain their operations, they are going to be the probably winners in this situation.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. What will be that most defining point post COVID-19?
I would say post COVID-19, let's look at it in from form of the businesses. the weakest 10 to 15% of the businesses would die. The mortality of weakest 10 to 15% businesses definitely, I feel, would happen. That would definitely open up new opportunities for the businesses. Like this is like that particular situation where tiger is running behind you, so you have to only run quicker than the slowest man. So if you are quicker than the slowest, then that tiger can never catch hold of you, and you are safe. So this is the situation where we need to be ahead of the worst 15% cases, stay ahead of it, and then automatically you have a lot of other opportunities or better opportunities which are going to be possible in the coming days. So COVID-19 catastrophe has to be viewed in two ways. One, it is going to be our managerial test. The people who will pass through this will always enjoy their life for probably next coming couple of years or maybe more. And second, this would also prepare organizations for the, I would say, it will make them more lean, more stout, quicker, agile, faster. So all this decision making. So instead of just getting buckled up, कि भाई अभी everything is doomed, everything is destroyed, I would not feel it that way. I would say that this is the time. We have to prove our point. We have to go ahead. And let me tell you, in all the 5 recessions in the past, company Emmbi as a company, we have grown. Every time we have grown. And same, we have a plan like we are like all our board and others. We are having a lot of discussions going on in last this, and we are again created a plan where we are targeting a growth of at least 10 to 12% in the coming year also. Even considering breakages and the time we don't have. So I guess every time is a good time, and recessions are the best times to grow. Recessions are the best time because you get a lot of cheaper assets, you get a lot of things which are at much lower cost. A good time to expand if you have some deep pockets. So let us look at it more pragmatically, more positively, and make best out of it.
Great. Thank you, sir. So as we say that, so there is so much of a negativity is being talked everywhere about the businesses, about the industries, but at a leadership level, every leader is always an optimist. And I can see it from your talks as well. So what is that silver lining in this dark cloud, sir?
I would say you would come to know, see, like simple thing. Now all of us are working from home. So one thing is very sure what we did in MB that we asked people to write down what are they going to do today, and at the end of the day tell us what did they do and what was the result of so we felt that many people had a very less task actually available to them to do in any particular day. So probably that this idea is probably organization is overstaffed. We might cut down people because they don't, or we can create more jobs, or we can have more avenues or opportunities with the same number of people. Because the mapping is now so detailed. Every smallest or senior most person is asked to submit every morning that what is his today's plan, what is he going to do, and at the end of the day, the same question: okay, how was the day and how much successful it was. I have seen that a lot of people are not having enough tasks at their hand. So I would say that this is one of the I would say profile matching is very very correctly done. So we would be able to have more productive team in the time to come. Secondly, we have tested our ability to quickly swing our productions. We have seen that our R&D team has a wonderful ability to create PPEs within a week's time. So maybe tomorrow, if some other challenge come, we can easily throw it to the parcel to work. So all in all, I feel this is going to be testing time. But like that kick or that high when you pass that test is also enjoyable. So let us not get with this negativity that everything is going to be doomed. We are going to be, the world is going to be end. This is not the end of the world. This is definitely not the end of the world. We have seen, our world has seen multiple situations where we always felt that this is really, really disturbing, really bad. This is pandemic. This is not going to sustain. But everything came back. Recession. क्या होगा? There can be a 1 or 2 or 5% of demand drop. So 5% demand drop means what? There's nothing. Like you can reduce the expenses by 10% and you are still in positive. don't worry about that part. Think more pragmatically. Think about the assets or strengths of your organization, and quickly go ahead and focus on what new you can do. That
Okay.
newness is going to be something different.
Okay, great, sir. So, I was fortunate that I was associated with FIBC and related industries from last few years, and I can say this is one of the industry which is more of a labor-intensive industry. You have you have to recruit people at all blue collared as well as white collared level people, and now with respect to this current scenario, there's a fear in everyone that am I going to lose my job? This fear is at all levels. It is at senior management level, middle management, and even at an operator level people as well. So, what advice you give to this crowd, sir?
No, I mean, let me tell you the fear from the other side. Like, I can tell
Uh-huh.
you because I am on the other side of the table. My fear is, am I going to lose my employees? Are they going to go back? Am I going to have enough staff strength to run my operation to the fullest? So I guess the people who are good, the people who knows their job, the people who have the value. It's all about creating your own value. Whether it's an organization, whether it's an individual, nobody has to. If somebody has created certain value, I can tell you that we have already given a declaration that come what may, and generally our salaries are on the 10th of the month. But this month, as a special gesture, we did it 5 days earlier, just to prove the point that okay,
Oh,
company is with you, and we are going to pay you. And we have also given a declaration that come what may, till 30th June, you are all covered. Nobody is going to be retrenched. No salary cuts. Nothing is going to happen when it comes to MB up to 30th June. So maybe I think the leaders or captains should speak to their people, and people should also give equal amount of reciprocation to the organization, telling that boss, no problem. In the difficult time, we are going to be there. We are going to put 1 hour extra. We are going to make something better. We are going to be more smarter. We are going to waste less. We are going to be more productive. We are going to be more creative. So I guess it's a time where both the sides come, sit on the table, understand each other's worries and problem, and start addressing that. That no, it's not going to be that way. Let's work together. So because it's a job of team now, it's not going to be one man doing all the things and other people watching. Pareto's law will not work. 80-20 ratios will not work. That Pareto's law will have to be skewed to a large extent. It will have to be done on 8 instead of 80-20, 20-80. A lot of people will have to do a lot of things, and then the things will be back to normal.
good. So this time is calling for teamwork, and I really appreciate when even the government is talking about salary cuts in the range of 30-40% and delaying the salaries. Organizations like MB are not only ensuring full 100% salaries, but even preponing the salaries. Forget about the on time or postponement. They are preponing the salary. This is really interesting to know, sir, and I'm sure you are giving a very strong message to the audience as well, all the industry leaders as well about how they should act in such times. Even the message is to the team members as well about it's not only one way. It's the team member also has to support the management, understand the management, and together then only we can pass through these such tough times. Any further advice that you would like to give to the industry leaders as such, not necessarily from your industry, but at such we have a presence of various industry leaders on this forum today. So, any specific generic advice you would like to give to these industry leaders?
Frankly speaking, I'm really not a very smart guy, and I can't really tell too many things. But I would only say that what I've seen in the past, it's all in our mind. If the leader is positive, everything goes on. You stay positive. You calculate your risk. You calculate your level of problems you are going to have. Speak to your people. Be very, very transparent. Talk to the smallest of the man in the organization. And like for the first 15 days of the lockdown, we were closed. And now yesterday we received a permission to operate. So we are, so even midnight, I just spoke to all my watchmen and told them that now you guys are going to take care. this is your unit and you are the one who are going to take unit. So, like people are, I feel, are extremely responsible. Just transfer your burden. Don't let everything sit on your head. Speak to each one of them. Let them also know that we are in the difficult time. We are in the time where all of us need to contribute. I would say it becomes much easier, much lighter for a top management if you don't hide. Okay, this if there's something is a problematic, tell okay, this is problem. I'm not going to do it this way. This is the way we have to do. All of us has to do. So at least for me, this has worked fantastically in the past. It is also working well in the present situation. So I would just say that transparency and being acceptable or that open door policy with most of the people in the company helps. Or maybe you would like to try it and that can be. And if it works for you, I guess next time whenever we meet, we'll have a coffee together.
Great. Great, sir. So, my last question to you before I open up the question answers for the audience is, where can we see Emmbi Industries, sir, 5 years down the line now?
Well, that's an interesting question, especially in today's time. And as you rightly said, I'm pretty, I would say, optimist and pragmatic guy. So our growth targets are around 20% per year. So by 2026, we are targeting somewhere around 1,000 crore top line and presence in around 70 countries. And we are already the largest player in the world when it comes to pond lining. So our target was to hold on to 1 pond per hour by 2021 end. So we are still sticking to it, and by 2025 we want to have 1 pond per 10 minutes somewhere happening in the world, so that we can create almost a billion liters of every third day. So billion liters of water saved every third day by 2025 is one of the ambitions and the thoughts we are taking ahead, because we feel that that is one of the most important contribution MB can get on the table for the society, for the businesses, for the people all over. So that's how we look at it.
Great, sir. Great, great to know that, and our best wishes to you for this journey. So I will stop my questions over here, and I will open up this forum for our audience. Audience, just for your information, I will take you through some webinar controls. On your left top corner, you can see there is a Q&A tab is there. So whoever would like to ask any questions to Mr. Appalwar, please type your question over there, and on your behalf, I will read it out, and maybe we will able to hear Mr. Appalwar's advice on your questions. So let me go through the questions. Already I could see there are so many questions coming up. So the first question, sir, is, after COVID, how long will be the labor availability issue for sectors like FIBC industry, where major operations are man-driven, like stitching and operating the looms?
Probably this would be in the first 3 months of the first quarter. We should be able to face. But historically, I think if this question is from some of the FIBC manufacturing companies or FIBC dominated area, then he would probably know that always the first quarter was always a problem when it comes to India in FIBC manufacturing. So world has already discounted us this, and they know, they call it a marriage season, what we always have promoted it all over the world. So during the marriage seasons, generally the outputs of FIBC in India drops by around 25 to 30%. That might go up a little, but I would see that this would end at the end of this quarter. So problem should not pursue, or I would say should not be pursued for more than this quarter. And if managed properly, it would be a little bit before that, because a lot of people will also be scared of losing the jobs because of this. So might be a returning, or this 21 days now, a lot of people are sitting home, so they would like to join back and they would like to come back. So give and take, 30th June should be the date where we should be back and running up in the full.
Okay, great, sir. So the another question, it says, like as a MSME contributes about 30 to 35% of our GDP. Even in that, around 95% is micro industry, which are affected so much from COVID situation. How this industry will come up with all the resources, and what will be the role of business leaders like Emmbi in it?
I would say probably I have traveled this journey. In today's language, I was one of the startup guys, say 25 years back. So everybody, all organizations are born as micro or small, and then slowly they graduate to whatever level they are today. So no worries about the smaller companies. Like smaller companies have certain challenges, they also have certain assets. Their agility is very good. They have very dedicated staff. Generally, the top management knows every single person in the organization, so he can actually get best out of every single person from the organization. So I would say that MSMEs in today's time should plus government when it comes to government's any sanction abilities or any I would say subsidies, sanctions, benefits, favors which comes to industry. The MSMEs are the one which gets them the quickest. They are the first one to get all the benefits. So you have to look at it in such a way that you always remain relevant to someone. Your relevance is maintained. Like the typical challenge in today's time, what many MSME suppliers create for themselves as well as buyer is not paying GST on time. Because if they don't pay GST on time, your GSTR 3B, your GSTR 3C, or any larger organization, that becomes a headache. So ensure that you don't create a headache for any of your principals or OEM buyers or whatever, the next step of your sales. So ensure that you do everything what is going to make his life more happy, more friendly, more better. Go and speak to him, go and talk to them, tell them that okay, these are the extra things which you can do. Because today is the time where everybody would be looking for some outsourcing. If somebody comes, some of my supplier comes and tells me that hey, why are you doing this? I can get you instead of buying say polypropylene granules, I can give you polypropylene thread straight away at the probably much better cost. I would be much more than happy to do that, because I would say okay, go ahead, start doing that. Why would I run my machines and employ my manpower, employ my risk? I would take it ahead from this. So people would buy fabric, people would buy threads. So the same thing goes, create and value. That's all I can say. Because as a smaller companies, I remember I was the only sales guy till the company had almost a top line of around 40 crore. I was the one single salesperson in the company. And I used to literally run pillar to post, meet people, visit factories, meet my customers, go to their factories. I would ensure that, and smallest of the things, I used to go and observe that what is the process in which they fill up the bags. I came up with, sir, in case we fold the bags like this, will it be more helpful for you? And they said, yeah, that's good. And slowly after 3 months, they said, sir, this cost us little. Can you give us 5 paisa or 10 paisa per bag extra for folding this bag? That guy calculated, okay, मैंने तो मेरा 3 unionized labors are gone because of the folded bags from Emmbi. My cost is 30 paisa per bag, what I saved. Why not give Emmbi 15 paisa? So you will have to involve in, I would say, techno-commercial innovation. Innovations will not necessarily be restricted to your technical side. See that you pass on some benefit to your buyer or end user, benefit would come to you.
Great. So we have a question from overseas as well. So we have a student from Zambia, and he's asking a question: is what do you see as a demand of FIBC products? Whether they would grow, remain flat, or decline, and specifically in next 6 months, and so.
It is estimated that in next 6 months, for first 3 months, demand will go up because there is a lot of pipeline destruction has happened. So first 3 months demand will go up, but post 3 months, the second quarter demand wide will be expected to be around 20% decline in the demand that is being forecasted. So by and large, I would say on the annual basis, you would see a flat. Because third quarter, that is the I would say December or the Christmas season quarter, will again keep at the same level. But if you have to see it demand in the relative manner, there's also a supply destruction has happened. So there is no need to panic because more than 20% supply destruction will definitely happen across the world. China has already done a major destruction in first couple of months. So the global out of the global demands, I don't know really what is the share of Zambia in the world this, but the countries like India and China who have more than 40% shares in the global market. So China has destructed their demand by more than 7% of the total in the first 3 months itself. I would say that this 21 days lockdown would also cut India's share by almost 4.5%. So effectively, there will be creation and usage might be similar. So don't worry about the demand in the market. That was going to stay how much you can produce. So all in all, year looks flat or slightly, I would say bullish. Say around 3 to 5% of the upsurge. That would look like.
Okay, thanks for that, sir. There is another question which says, so you said companies should focus on cash flows. Does this mean companies should give priority to cash flow over year-on-year turnover growth? The
I think
typical
company
conflict between growth and the cash flow.
Yeah, company has to make the golden mean of it. It has to balance that sweet spot everybody has to derive because unless and until you have the right kind of a top line, you will not have the right kind of a cost per unit. Because in case you just say that, okay, I'm going to sell only to the people who are going to pay me the advance and effectively reduce your turnover by say 30-40%, then your cost per unit will immediately swell. So you have to derive that sweet spot with you, but you have to ensure that you always stay above the positive line. You should never go negative. You can always depend on your bank and other thing how they are supporting. It is really like there is a COVID fund by some of the prominent banks, like typically the leading banks like State Bank of India has announced as COVID fund. A lot of other banks also announced. So even the borrowing can be pumped in your system. That can also charge your cash flow. So you have to see that that sweet spot is arrived. You should never get into any of the place where your cost of production is so much gone up that your sellability itself will challenge or question. So find out that sweet spot for you and use it.
So there is a related question only that it says companies with deep pockets will be able to pay out to their employees, but many of the MSME companies depend majorly on the monthly cash flow. In current scenario with nil cash flow, paying out to their employees seems a challenge. So what's your take on this? Go for a pay cut or still manage a loan and keep your employees happy while running companies suffering?
No, you have to. You have to. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Very much broken to me. But am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible now. It's better now.
Okay. So what I understood in a short is if the companies doesn't have enough deep pockets, whether salaries and save the companies, or we should pay the salaries by borrowing. Now, again, the
Yeah.
question remains: how do you define your company? So, whether it's a MSME or it's a 2% company or a 10% company or a 1,000% company, company is definitely defined by number of people working into it. So, if you don't have the manpower which is going to be required for tomorrow, you can always, that's what I was talking, that you need to be transparent, you need to speak to them. You can take a different, which I heard some companies also thought about salary difference. Like because the cash flow is very poor, I will pay you 50% salary right away and 50% salary will be deferred and I would pay you after 6 months when the cash flow improves along with the main salary. So either you can look at that. Plus, there cannot be a zero cash flow because we all were working since around till 20 or 21st or 23rd, we were all working. Or companies like in Silvassa, 20 till 26th, we were working. So till 26th, we invoiced. So that money is going to come. So that money is there. So I think that zero cash flow situation would only arise after 20th April. How that has already arisen, I am kind of confused because we already invoiced till 26th of March. So that money or the money which has sold in the previous time is arriving now. So you can use that. And in the mean, lot of banks have come up. banks are giving you a lot of other support. So if you feel that this business is viable and going to run for longer term, good idea is to be I would say, along with your employees, be together. But if you feel with the COVID, your viability of business itself is in question mark, it's a great idea to immediately speak to everyone, tell them that okay, this is not going to work post COVID. A lot of things have happened like this in America. You can see that big unicorn startups have gone bust because they felt that post COVID, this one of the traveling companies, I won't be able to name them, but who had a unicorn startup, unicorn valuations, has declared that they have lost their 90% of the top line, and that is not even viable to take care of their office and staff expenses. So they decided to take a closure. So I would say that if viability of business is going to be there, then hold on. Don't worry, things will pass. But if you are worried about the viability of business itself, then probably you need to relook or think a little differently.
Okay. So one more question, sir. Of course, I will take last 2 to 3 questions because the questions are still flooding and I can see that the time is passing. What would you see as a permanent or irreversible change for businesses all around the globe, which would happen post because of this COVID-19 scenario? Irreversible change across the globe for the businesses.
I feel de-risking is one of the major thing which is going to happen. To explain that, a lot of us or a lot of our buyers were dependent on certain countries or certain economies for supplies. Like India was very predominant supplier of FIBCs in Europe, while India and China was almost sharing the turf in United States. Now what we are seeing is the companies which were buying bags from China or FIBCs from China are also deciding to buy from India and vice versa. So de-risking will happen. People would like to have multiple sources of their inputs. Like typically what happened in India, automobile sector at the time was there that a lot of equipments like catalytic converters and others, where we were heavily dependent on Chinese economy or Chinese market. They were about to dry out and factories were about to close when China's supply chain got disturbed. So one of the things what I guess I see is this de-risking will happen in a large way, and people will start buying from multiple places, and that would change your buying and selling profile. So one has to be ready with that, and that's going to stay because that's going to be one thing which is going to be permanent. Secondly, I guess overall supply of money would also change because this is going to have a lot of wealth destruction, and this wealth destruction will probably result into a permanent, I would say, shortage or evaporation of overall supply of money from the market to the tune of 10 to 15%. That's what I personally feel. So overall efficiency will have to be like everybody will have to work on the better. You'll have to think about reducing your inventories. So the companies or the countries like typically India, non-automobile India sector, we are still not on just in time. So we'll have to start thinking about how to produce just in time, reduce the inventory, be more efficient, be more agile. So I would say that these are few of the permanent dents which we are going to see. One of the very platonic dent we might see is from the generation Z or millennials, because this has created such a severe impact of uncertainty. So their ability to take risk, this has been historically absorbed. The generations get dented, their decision making changes. Their ability to take risk might slightly be less. There will be less risk averse than what my generation was there. I would say my daughter's generation would take probably less risk than what I used to take because she has seen very high volatility happen right in the beginning of her business career. So these are a few of the permanent impacts which COVID-19 catastrophe would leave on the world. That's what I feel.
There's another question which is more from a social perspective. It says that in this scenario of COVID-19, many manufacturing organizations are trying to take government approval on the name of essential services and starting their production, but basic preventive measures are not taken up for the laborers. They are looking for profitability only. What's your thought on the same, because I know you are such a follower of safety, health announcement, knowing you personally, sir. So I'm sure you will definitely enlighten our industry leaders on importance of these aspects of health safety.
No, I think this is means this is definitely there is no need of any opinion to be given. If somebody is doing this should not be done. Like this is absolutely probably uh, unnecessary because what somebody would gain and lose is extremely skewed. You might gain a certain psychological high that I started in a difficult situation or as one of the first one to start or something like that. But God forbid, and even one employee of yours get contaminated or I would say contracted of COVID because of your rash action, you would probably have a huge trauma as well as the organization will have a long-term problem. Saying that
Yes.
every company was trying, like because we are a part of the essential commodities, we supply to a lot of flour, meals or rice meal or say barley or some medicines, other thing, and all of us have tried. But governments were very selective, and after government gave the permission, they were again very like we have to start our stop delay our startup by almost 70-75 hours because we didn't had a plan how exactly we are going to work once the with this problem. So we have to also ensure that we marked all the people, we made new desks, we made new stationery. Every person who comes in is asked, do you have any symptoms? His temperature is measured. He's given some sanitizers to clean himself. He's given a bottle of sanitizer so that he can handle it all day. So I think it is more by and large each one's responsibility as a owner or the captain of the company. It is as per even our religious way, you are like a head of the family. You are in the place of father. So that fatherly feeling has to be kept by every captain, and he has to see that things doesn't go wrong. Of course, there are some companies would do it, but like that cannot be avoided. It is a part. This is a strata. This is a society. There are going to be some good people, some average people, some crooks. So that's okay. Like that's the way world has always been.
Yeah. Of course, there was another question which I understand you already answered about larger organizations like MB supporting the MSME. Of course, sir has already answered that. Come up with some good product, good value proposition, and the organizations are ready for outsourcing. The last question which I'll ask is, what do you think as one or two key things government must do for business to mitigate the adverse effect of COVID-19?
I think government should quickly ensure that whatever benefits, like typically I was talking to some senior bankers and I could know that till now the benefits which have been announced by RBI are not
Mhm.
passed on to any one of us who are the borrowers purely because that is taking care of the problems what there are in the banking system. So we will
Mhm.
have to, our government will have to go ahead and ensure that whatever benefits they have already announced, I really don't want to ask them anything more because I think they have given enough for them because they themselves have to take care of a lot of other things. So, but only they have to ensure that whatever has been announced is delivered to the right people. It should not get leaked in the whole pipeline to some unnecessary levels or somebody just to correct their balance sheets is not at all passing the benefit. And whatever benefits was there historically, whether they are MSMEs, whether they are exporting community or whatever, should at least remain. It should not go away. Probably they might not give some any new benefit because they also are in the tough spot. They have to feed so many people, take care. So government might not really be able to have too many soaps. And we are, as a corporate citizen, we all have to remember one thing that there are no free lunches in the corporate world. Everything has to be paid. So take out from your mind that anything free is going to come to us. Let us accept that no, it's not going to come. Let's, instead of demanding something, let's command that. And okay, if as an exporter, if you don't give me that, I have like FIBC India $1.3 billion export. So we just 30 companies we make 1.3 billion. So we tell government that okay, you decide if you want to if us fail, we'll fail $1.3 billion export. So they will automatically come to your rescue and say, okay, you guys don't fail. Tell us what you want. So command that premium instead of demanding something. And that can only by creating some value. Again, it comes to the same thing. So no begging bowl handing in our hand. Instead of that, fight and ensure that whatever is declared, my only humble request to government is whatever they have declared, which I think they have done enough and they have done great thing. They should ensure that it should reach to the rightful people.
Okay. So this is last question because it's slightly different than FIBC sector. So I would like to take this. Is what is the perspective of retail sector post this COVID scenario, specifically to construction material business reference such as tiles, marbles? So slightly totally away from the FIBC and related sector, but in general.
Well, I'm not a greatest of the expert, but what I'm seeing and reading is probably construction sector will have one of the worst times what they have seen in the past, because construction is an activity where people would do it when they have some surplus cash. If somebody is losing jobs or getting a pay cut, he might not really go for a renovation or changing the tiles of his house or another thing. So probably one of the worst hits that is expected or that has been spoken about is automobile and construction. Though we have our like sister concern company which is in the I would say construction business where we do pipe manufacturing. So we are pretty paranoid about that sector, and we are just finding out new application. How can we use it for some non-construction activities so that we keep our growth in that particular thing.
Okay. Participants, my apologies that I can't take further questions because we are exhausted the time. So, sir, thank you very much for your entire advice. I'm sure many of us who are present on this interview will definitely get benefited because of it. For the participants, I will take this opportunity to announce the next series. Tomorrow we have a bounce forward talks with Mr. Bharat Patel, Managing Director of Waterman Industries, and he will be sharing us his perspectives for the pump manufacturing industry. So I encourage everyone to join tomorrow as well at 3 p.m. at the same time. Once again, I thank our today's guest, Mr. Makrand Appalwar, for investing in his time, sharing so many advices, various things I'm sure everyone will take away from these discussions today. I also take this opportunity to thank CI, Young Indians, Roundtable India for their continuous support. And I would like to end this session with a small thought which I will go with today's discussion, that it says, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, just keep moving forward. Thank you very much and stay safe. See you tomorrow at 3 p.m. with Mr. Bharat Patel. Thank you very much. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you so much.
And we can end the session.
Thanks.